XRP here, and welcome back. It is Saturday afternoon. If you do hear construction in the background, it's because I've got some construction going on in the background, but we're going to try and push through. And let's take a look at the market real quick, and then I want to talk to you. I've got some great clips for you, and Brad Garlinghouse also talking about the big shift of the crypto industry and what's going to be important in the future. So we're going to get to that as well. Right now, Bitcoin's at 110,313. Ethereum's at 38.73. Tether's holding comfortably at $1. BNB flipped XRP again. It's at 1,094, and XRP's at 251. And let's start jumping into things. Coin Bureau posted this, and there's a lot of this going around Twitter. It says, just in, Ripple to deploy 900 million in RLUSD stablecoins for humanitarian aid with World Central Kitchen, Water.org, and Mercy Corps. It's really misleading. I mean, if you know, on its face, you would say, oh my God, Ripple's donating $900 million. No, they're deploying stable coins to be used by these different entities for their payments. So this is not a donation, and it's been miswritten by a lot of people, but I dug into it, and it's just a deployment of their stable coin. This was Michael Saylor, and you know, here you go. Michael Saylor, we're hearing rumors that major banks in the U.S. will start buying Bitcoin in the first half of 2026.
We're hearing rumors, and we've heard, you know, that a number of major banks in the U.S. in the first half of 2026 will start to buy Bitcoin, sell Bitcoin, custody Bitcoin, and issue credit and margin lines against the native Bitcoin asset. That will be great for them. That will be great for Bitcoin. That will be great for us. That will accelerate adoption.
Yeah, and we've, you know, and I'm not surprised. I mean, we've heard that JP Morgan is allowing Bitcoin to be used as collateral. So not surprising that banks are going to be buying and holding digital assets at all. This was from Watcher Guru. Justin, Treasury Secretary Bissett says 17 years after the white paper, the Bitcoin network is still operational and more resilient than ever. And they quote him as saying, Bitcoin never shuts down. That's a pretty bold statement from your Treasury Secretary, especially considering that he's not even supposed to know who developed Bitcoin, which to everybody who can hear the sound of my voice makes no sense. So enough of that. This is Vice President J.D. Vance.
And when it comes to crypto, I think the last several years have made it clear that we're talking about genuine, ground-up innovation, one that's already improving the well-being of tens of millions of our fellow citizens. I believe it's 50 million Americans own Bitcoin, and I believe that's going to be 100 million before too long.
And I think, I don't disagree with them, but I think that 50 million is actually 50 million Americans are invested in digital assets. It's not just Bitcoin. But I get his point, and I agree with where he's going with that. Oh, this also came from Watcher Guru. It says, Justin, Steak and Shake announces the creation of a strategic Bitcoin reserve. All payments received in Bitcoin will be placed in our SBR. So that's interesting, right? So people will be able to pay for their Steak and Shake order with Bitcoin, and they're going to go ahead and keep that Bitcoin. I think that's a smart way to do it. That's really, really a smart way to do it. I like that a lot. All right, so this is the CEO of Ripple, Brad Garlinghouse. And let's dip in 38-second clip here. I want you to hear this and watch Tom Lee's face when Brad says this. This is pretty interesting if you're not driving and you can watch the screen.
You're demonstrating that we don't have a global consensus about crypto. Even in this conversation, and I agree that it still is early, partly because there is not a global consensus about some of these things.
Agreed.
And I think some of the use cases, we're still extremely early in terms of scaled use cases. Circle is certainly one example that has started to have a scaled use case around a stable coin. But I think the crypto industry, I agree, the next 16 years, I think it'll be better than the last 16 years because you'll finally see applications emerging that up until now have just been the store of value story or speculation.
Tom Lee doesn't like to hear that. He's always talking about Ethereum and Bitcoin. And look, at the end of the day, we've been preaching this for years and years. Utility is going to matter. It doesn't mean that Bitcoin's not going to have value. It doesn't mean it's not going to continue to be a store of value. But utility is going to matter. Everything that moves across the XRP ledger is going to need XRP to be used as gas. So whether it's RLUSD or anything else, tokenized assets, whatever it may be, those things can't move across the ledger without somebody burning some XRP. So that's the thing to key in on. This was interesting. Coin Bureau put this out. Breaking: Fed pumps 29.4 billion into markets overnight. The Fed quietly injected 29.4 billion into the banking system. So there's something, it's called the repo market. And this is the graph. I actually pulled up the graph. And what the repo market is banks have to balance their books every night. And prior to COVID, they used to borrow money from each other. But once COVID happened, liquidity was so tight that they stopped borrowing from each other. Actually, this maybe even happened a little bit slightly before COVID. And the Federal Reserve started giving them funds to dip into. But the reason I'm bringing this up is last night was the largest amount in over 5 years since COVID. And look at this, look at the chart here if you're looking. I mean, it just hockey sticked last night. So that's a sign of a weakening economy, the fact that the banks needed to reach in for that liquidity. So that's something to keep an eye on for sure. This is Carlos Domingo from Securitize. He's been around a long time. And this is a great clip about tokenization. I believe, personally for me, I think tokenization is going to be the greatest use case of blockchain that we ever see in our lifetime. Let's dip into Carlos Domingo, the CEO of Securitize, and what he has to say about tokenization.
Well, obviously pending the regulatory, framework, makes it easier to consume for retail people. Like, large investors, they have armies of people that they can deal with inefficiencies in markets that retail people don't have. So I think it's a great equalizer for accessing financial services products.
So if this is about the rails and about changing the rails, getting things that are not tokenized, so then they're more easily accessible, things are faster, things settle more quickly, who ends up losing out here?
That's a very good question. I think the incumbents, right, the intermediaries that sit in between those transactions.
Who are they?
Clearinghouses, central securities depositories, transfer agents we need to modernize. So transfer agents think they'll still be there, but in a modern version of them. Distributors like wealth management.
Give us some names.
You want me to be provocative?
I just want you to, if you're thinking about a future like this, like where do people not want to be?
I think one of the things that probably disappears is the clearinghouses, right? Because the blockchain settles the trades, and the blockchain is the settlement layer, and therefore you don't need an intermediary to settle trades.
Are we just going to hear the clearinghouses at some point say that they're going to tokenize whatever's in their inventory as well?
Well, they are already saying, but that actually doesn't change anything, right? Because, tokenization is about changing the market structure to limit intermediaries. So if the existing intermediaries are just stay there as intermediaries, but tokenizing something, it doesn't really, create any improvements to the market structure.
Do most people not even notice? Let's say we get to that world where everything is tokenized. Will the end user not even notice this world?
That's a very good question. So I think that tokenization or tokenized finance eventually will become finance, the same thing that internet companies are just companies today, right? So I think blockchains at some point, when they are integrated on the endpoints of consumers, will just disappear behind the scenes as another infrastructure. They're the same way that internet. Back in the days, you might remember you had to dial up and have a modem and all that stuff. And today, everything is connected to the internet and it's transparent, right? So I do think blockchains will eventually become completely transparent.
It's a great clip. And I agree with him that, blockchain is going to be used in the background and people aren't going to really know it, but they're going to feel it, right? They're going to feel the speed of liquidity, how quickly they can get in and out of assets. It's going to be truly amazing, and they're going to know that blockchain is responsible and why it's making things so fast for them. Hey, if you're like me, I over the years check all of my exchanges every day to make sure my digital assets are still there. It's just one of those things. I'm like, I open up one, there you go, good. Open up the other one, there you go, good. Now I can sleep, right? So I recently put really about 80% of my digital assets in a premium custody account at iTrustCapital. iTrustCapital is one of my sponsors, and iTrust has the premium custody account. What I love about it is it's institutional grade custody in cold storage, right? So there isn't a day goes by I don't get a text, an email, a telephone call saying that, it's one of my exchanges and there's an emergency. I ignore all of them. I don't get it from iTrust. I don't get any false phishing attacks for my iTrust account because these accounts are cash in, crypto in, only cash out. So once you put your crypto into your iTrust Premium Custody account, the only thing you can do is sell out your position. Eventually, they're going to have, once yield products are offered, they'll have them there at iTrust. I've already had discussions with them about it. But I love the Premium Custody account. So if you're looking for a safe place to keep your digital assets and you want to sleep at night, this is where I like to keep mine. And I have a affiliate link in the description of this video if you'd be so kind to use it. I really appreciate everybody dipping in and listening to my channel this Saturday afternoon. I hope you have a fantastic weekend. That's it for now. I'm not a financial advisor. This video is for entertainment and educational purposes only. Always do your own research. See you next time. Bye-bye.